Hello and good morning, and welcome to our webinar around realising your AI ambitions with Microsoft Fabric. I'm Catherine and I lead Data and AI for our Client Solutions team here at Avanade UK. I'm sure all of you know Avanade, but if you don't, we are a joint venture between Microsoft and Accenture. We were actually founded 25 years ago, and we work right across the Microsoft technology stack, creating solutions to really supercharge our clients' businesses. We've just won the Microsoft Global Partner of the Year award together with Accenture for the 20th year running. So Henrique and Ian, it's fantastic to have you both here today to really show our listeners how Microsoft Fabric is a key component in their AI transformation journey and how it's an enabler for really realizing their AI ambitions. Coming out of Microsoft Ignite last week, we've also seen with Fabric IQ a real shift from unified data to unified intelligence, and Fabric really is that intelligence platform designed to really power AI transformation across our listeners' organizations. I'm really looking forward to diving in. So without further ado, Henrique and Ian, can you introduce yourselves and then we'll dive in.
Hi, I'm Ian Marrett. I'm the Data and AI Practice Lead for Avanade UK. And given that we are part owned by Microsoft, it's perhaps not surprising our team has the deep technical and delivery expertise to innovate within the Microsoft ecosystem. And in fact, globally, we deliver over 4,000 Microsoft data platform projects every year. Henrique.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Catherine. Hello, everyone. So I'm joining from Microsoft, and I have a really exciting role, which is to lead a group of technical consultants and engineers working very closely with customers in the enterprise space across a whole range of technologies around cloud and AI to drive AI transformation. And so we partner very closely with Avanade across a significant number of those. And so it's delightful to be here today to talk about how we're leveraging Fabric in a lot of those projects. Let's start off just with a little bit of a step back before we go too deep into technology and talk a little bit about the current, I would say, business and AI landscape, because over the several of last years, AI has really been moving from something that we experiment with to genuinely driving mainstream adoption. And I don't just mean in terms of business and organizations, but also in our personal lives as well, right? And so where we are right now is that every industry and every organization, and frankly, every team is asking the same question, which is, how do we harness AI to accelerate growth, productivity, and innovation in a responsible way? If you think about the last 30 years, the tools that we have all used have really driven significant transformation from, tools that we used to just connect a few computers in a lab, which then became something like the World Wide Web, to really putting the world's entire knowledge stack at our fingertips with something like a smartphone. Each wave of technology has really reshaped how we live and work. And with AI, really, we think that this is going to be what we call the next general purpose technology, the next great shift, something very similar to an industrial revolution, something as big as the internet, really. And this shift has been decades in the making, right? I mean, AI and machine learning is as old as 56 or 70 years old. It's from the 50s. But the opportunity for transformation really is here right now. And it's one of the most exciting changes, I would say, in our lifetimes. And it's shaping and reshaping every individual, every team, and frankly, every industry. However, when we think about the opportunity for AI, it really is about, as I was saying, streamlining productivity, improving the quality of outputs, and really unlocking net new value, right? We're thinking about how it will allow employees to, for example, interact with data in natural language, right? Making it easier to ask questions and cover insights without having to have data engineering skills. We're also thinking about how AI can support developers by accelerating things like their ability to generate code, making that code more accurate, and actually increasing the speed with which we build new solutions and take it into the market. But also beyond individual tasks, we're also thinking about the power of AI agents and how they can actually work across, not only different sets of data, but also across other agents to identify anomalies in business processes, but also to surface opportunities that can drive really broad business growth. And I think this really sets the stage for how many organizations that we work with are thinking about how to adopt AI to deliver not just immediate, but also long-term impact. And what we're learning is that successful AI is reliant on these two things, right? And the reason why this is important is because a lot of organizations genuinely are still struggling to scale. I mean, we have seen studies showing how many have invested significantly in pilots and then haven't managed to actually scale those pilots into production. And we think at the heart of this challenge, a lot of this is down to things like fragmented data estates, sources of data that are disconnected, and applications that are isolated, limiting the visibility that we have across business processes, but also the trust that we're able to build for these new AI-enabled solutions. And then on the AI development side, what we're finding is that the teams working are actually lacking integrated tools. And what do we mean by that? We're talking about tools that allow them to not just build AI solutions, but bring all the data that those solutions need, and then to also manage all of the agents that we create, right? And drive things like what we call observability and scalability of those solutions. We're still talking to organizations that are struggling to ground a lot of those models in data that they deem to be secure, right? And being able to address security risks and data governance risks. So that's where the tooling of the intelligence layer becomes really, really important. And that's why we think as well, so many barriers are making it difficult for us to move from isolated pilots to enterprise-wide production-grade solutions. And so how are we thinking about the journey and where data comes in and why Fabric will for us play a big part in this? Successful AI transformation depends on both a unified data layer and an intelligence layer, as we talked about, but turning that foundation into action starts with this very clear step-by-step approach that helps us build trust, scalability, and adaptability to every stage. And what we're going to focus on today primarily is these first two steps, right? The first one is all around unifying your data, which, if you're thinking about creating custom AI experiences that really differentiate you and your organization, you require data, lots of it. And AI innovation begins with that really strong data foundation. And that means that we have to eliminate silos by bringing together data that you might have in the cloud, data that you might have on premise, and bringing that into an open, governed data lakehouse, as we call it. And then the second step is making that data AI ready, right? Just because you've got that data doesn't mean you can do anything with it. And so for generative AI and agentic solutions to be as accurate as possible, they need to be built with clean data and data that might be at least semi-structured in some way. And so you're going to need a platform that is allowing you to prepare that data before building those AI experiences on top. And you want to make sure that you've got secure, real-time connections to those data flows so that you can continuously enrich it and then feed those models and feed those applications so that it's usable and powering insights and automation. And then once you've got that, you can take on step 3 and 4, which we'll talk a little bit about today as well. But the challenge really with step 1 and 2 is that the starting point typically looks a lot like this. Most of the data environments that we have today have not been designed with AI in mind. Instead, what we have is something that has grown organically over time as you bring in new applications, new systems, different cloud services over the years, and then you end up with a patchwork of really specialized solutions, but that often operate in silos. And this creates many problems for us, right? For all of us. First, duplication of data. And a lot of inefficiencies around infrastructure that supports that data, driving up costs. We see a lot of organizations that start to copy stuff across to other systems so they can use it for other applications, really increasing the cost of managing all of that. Second, really hard to keep all this stuff up to date, right? Really outdated information, slowing down insights, and leading to something that we've all experienced where we're rolling out solutions that's based on data and everyone's second guessing, triple guessing the data, not really trusting it. And then finally, the lack of interoperability, which makes it really hard to connect data for both analytics and AI innovation. And with all of this, as we're starting to unpack AI and its capabilities, what we've seen is that, data protection and data security, everyone used to always know that it was super important. But now, as we're trying to drive innovation from AI, it's not only important, but it's absolutely urgent, and it's a key priority which we want to address as we try and take advantage of these technologies. And so this is the reality many are starting from, and where we need to really get to is, from this position of multiple services, disconnected data sources, isolated applications, and then many times AI is kind of like a bolt-on. We need to shift to really what we call a unified data and analytics platform, where all of that data sits or is accessible from a single governed environment that's accessible across your entire technology estate. Sounds like super utopic or utopia-like, but it's actually possible with these technologies these days. And this really will ensure that every workload runs on the same source of truth, that the AI that you're building is embedded at every layer from the very beginning. Our vision really with Fabric is to design something from the ground up that allows you to unify data and AI, giving you that end-to-end platform to fuel innovation with trust, with speed, and with scale. And so this is basically the finish line that we arrive at. It's a platform built to meet organizations where they are. It's highly composable, right? And it really is focused on allowing you to unlock the full value of your data from a collection of point solutions and siloed systems. That unified platform is what will help you connect the data estate end to end and help you move towards AI-driven outcomes. Whether you're trying to run machine learning models, whether you're trying to do analytics, whether you're trying to consolidate data for an AI agent, it doesn't really matter where you are in your journey. Fabric meets you where you're at. But really what sets this apart, what Fabric is really unique, is its flexibility, right? Whether you want a turnkey experience or really a modular architecture, it's able to cater for all of those needs. And so through every layer that you see here, from data ingestion, modeling, AI, it's all included in Fabric. And as you see to the right-hand side, what you can do with that data really is where sort of this really makes a difference. Another way to think about this, right, is traditionally these systems that manage data required you to bring, and they can process data, they require you to bring your data to the system. We call that bringing your data to the computing layer. What we're thinking differently with here is we're bringing the computing power to the data, right? So you're not moving your data, we're bringing the power to compute on that data to where it's at. And I think that that's really what helps accelerate a lot of these projects these days. Another more simplistic way to think about Fabric is these 4 core capabilities, right? So number one, it's an AI-powered data platform, right? So we talked about analytical and operational data workloads. It's bringing all of this together in what we call a software as a service experience. So we're going to do a short demonstration in just a few minutes, and you will see that it's like an application with point and click, with menus. It's what we call a SaaS experience. So whether you're a developer, a data scientist, an engineer, or a business user, you can use this tool without having to stitch together multiple products or be working through a code terminal. Second bit, it's an open and AI-ready data lake. What do I mean by open? We are using open source data formats, okay? So a lot of data platforms have traditionally used proprietary data formats. What happens with that is when you want to use that data somewhere else, then you need to either convert that data or there needs to be some special agreement between those two vendors. We've decided to build on top of open source data formats so that a lot of the data that you already use in other platforms, you can just enable inside Fabric, inside OneLake, eliminating that difficulty of getting all of that together. And what we also call reducing the risk of what we call vendor lock-in. And then finally, we talk a lot about business users with Fabric because we've built this tool to be super intuitive, straight into Microsoft 365. So a lot of the data that you're going to be pulling into Fabric will be available in Microsoft 365, whether you are building agents in Copilot Studio, whether you are using Teams, whether you're using Office. this data will be available to you in there. And then finally, we talk a lot about this mission critical foundation, which is all about ensuring security, governance, and ensuring that performance is built in from the start. Permissions that you set flow seamlessly all the way through the data stack through to the applications, so that you can trust that the insights are being delivered responsibly at scale. Okay, so that's kind of a whirlwind tour of Fabric and what it is that we're trying to address. I thought it would be good for us to do a quick demonstration of what this looks like in action. So this is Fabric, right? And at the heart of every AI experience is that data that powers it. And so in this example, I work for a company called Contoso, which is an outdoors retailer. And I want to create a support agent, right? Support assist agent to give product recommendations to our customers. But to train this agent, I need access to multiple different types of data. And like most companies, this data is scattered across applications. And so the Contoso team has already started by bringing data into a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. So we're going to jump in and take a look. Okay, I'm going to click here on OneLake. So think of OneLake like the way you think about OneDrive for your files. OneLake is your OneDrive for your data. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look for lakehouses, which is where we bring all of the data together. So I'm going to filter all these items in my OneLake OneLake by lakehouses, and I'm going to pick here the Contoso Outdoor Products Lakehouse. Okay. Now that I've found my lakehouse, I can explore the catalog and I can review all of the data items. I can review descriptions, permissions, recent activity, and also full data lineage. From this lineage view, right? So this is kind of like telling me what are the different sources of data that are feeding my lakehouse, any transformations that we're doing to that data, semantic models, right? Semantic models are like models of meaning around that data, reports and notebooks that are consuming the data, right? And if I expand that, I've also got this data flow that shows me the data that's being ingested. It also shows me streaming data coming through from our inventory application. So it's a different application, and this is coming in through something called Fabric Real-Time Intelligence. This is like real-time streaming data coming into my lakehouse, being updated in real time. Pretty cool. But also, I'm going to go ahead and open this lakehouse so I can start to explore that data, okay, for my agent. And then when I do that, if you look here on the top left, I can see that there's a warning about data protection at risk, okay, that was detected. And this is because we have Purview data protection, data governance built into Fabric, okay. If I click on view details, it's actually, this lakehouse was found to contain sensitive customer personal identifiable information. And it was flagged by Purview's data loss prevention policies, okay, and tagged as highly confidential. What I can see is that I actually have credit card numbers on here, right? So I don't want to be feeding this into my AI agent in case anyone asks those sorts of naughty questions, right? And so before we use this data, I'm going to train my agent, I'm going to remove that. And so I've got a notebook open here with some code that is going to help us remove that column. And so I'm just going to run that and go back to my lakehouse. That now I don't have credit card numbers anymore. Brilliant. And so now I feel confident that I can go in here and I can change the sensitivity label of this data so that it can be used by my agent in the context of the support agent. Okay, so this has now got most of what we need, but it's missing a really crucial thing, which is product images and product descriptions. Okay, now that hasn't been loaded into our lakehouse. And to bring that data into Fabric, I can build another data pipeline and just bring the data across. But as I said, you don't always want to be doing that if you already have another system that has that data. So the other thing I can do is I can use something called mirroring, which is effectively replicating data from other sources with zero extract, transform, and load, so ETL. But again, it's still duplicating data. So what I'm going to do is something else called a shortcut. Now, a shortcut's really cool because it enables Fabric to connect with data without moving it anywhere, okay? And in this case, our product is in an Amazon S3 bucket, so in the Amazon cloud. And so I'm going to create a shortcut for that. click on new shortcut, and you can see I've got Google, I've got Amazon. Recently we released connections into SAP, we've got connections to Snowflake, Databricks, many others. But this case, it's going to be Amazon, and I'm going to create that new connection. And I've got to create this and now pick my source. So I'm going to do products, sales data. I'm going to pick the whole lot, and click on next, and then create. Okay, so that's really how quick this stuff can be. Now we can verify the data that's coming in. So I'm just going to check images, and I'm going to see if this is pulling through. So it's pulling in images without actually copying the data, but it's actually pulling through data from Amazon straight into Fabric. That's only half of the equation, right? Because now, if we move on to Microsoft Foundry, right, we can see how this can be used. So Microsoft Foundry is the place where you can design, customize, and manage AI applications, and also agents at true scale, right? And this is where we've built the Contoso Outdoors agents. And I've already connected my Fabric Lakehouse to a GPT-4o model. And within the chat playground, we can test the agent to make sure it has all the data it needs. And so here, I can say, make sure that you are friendly to outdoor explorers. But really what I want to do is I want to start with a prompt and just test that it's pulling the data from Fabric. And so what's the best sleeping bag for winter camping? And I can ask that question, and our model will then provide, as you can see, a really detailed response contextualized with our data from Fabric. And I can also check out the citations here and see what kind of information it's pulling through. So as you can see, it only took me a couple of minutes to go from unstructured data in Lakehouse to mirroring data from another source to publish a ready-made trained model that can help customers find all the products that they need. And that really is, how we're bringing data together to power AI transformation. So I hope that helps us bring that a little bit to life a little bit more for all of us. So I'm just going to go back into the deck and close us off with a few highlights from Ignite, which is our annual customer event a few weeks back. This is the full breadth of what you've just experienced. And what I wanted to call out actually is that, we're combining Microsoft Power BI, which is business intelligence, analytics, this thing called the data factory, which, I showed you a little example of that, just using some code to manipulate data. But then also now we've introduced something called the Fabric IQ workload. And Fabric IQ is what we've released to really elevate how organizations work, to create something that we call a semantic foundation. You saw I had semantic models in Fabric, which is like creating meaning out of data. We've allowed organizations to really accelerate the time that it takes to get that together, so that we can build agents that derive meaning from data continuously and in real time. But what's really powerful as well that we saw is that all of this data that we're bringing into OneLake, whether it's data in Google, whether it's in Snowflake, Oracle, we're enabling through Fabric and through OneLake for you to use that data both in your productivity tools and for AI and machine learning purposes. Just to give us a little bit of a show reel of Fabric IQ, that piece around semantic meaning, there's a short video that I wanted to share.
Data is the fuel that powers AI, but data alone is not enough. AI needs an understanding of what the data means, how things relate, and which actions turn insight into impact. Introducing Microsoft Fabric IQ, the semantic foundation that unites data, business meaning, and action into a single unified view of your organization. Model your business using visual, no-code tools, so the people who know your company can adapt it as fast as it evolves. Create entities over all your data in OneLake, not only your analytical data and Power BI semantic models, but also your operational, geospatial, and real-time data. Navigate your business the way it actually runs, not by tables and schemas, but by organizational concepts. And ultimately, elevate your teams and your AI to ask questions, reason, and act in the language of your business. Powered by this live, unified view of your organization. Trigger actions in real time using rules and empower AI operations agents to run your business, because now they understand its live context. Connect Fabric IQ seamlessly with Foundry IQ, uniting your live business context with the knowledge captured in your documents and communications. This combination from Microsoft gives developer-built agents in Foundry unmatched context, so they can make decisions you trust and continuously optimize your operations for superior outcomes. From unified data to unified intelligence, this is IQ in Microsoft Fabric.
I really love this, right? It's like you're adding your business context to that data. And so, you ask an organization, define a customer, ask 5 organizations, they will have 5 different meanings for that. So this is really what we're trying to enable organizations with Fabric IQ. So I'm really, really excited about this. And so with that, this wasn't the only announcement from Ignite last week. There was actually quite a lot that's quite exciting, and I've put some of that on the screen here. As you've heard, we've introduced Fabric IQ, which is this semantic intelligence layer to transform your raw data into actual insights. But also, we also announced the ability for you to bring SAP data seamlessly with 0 copy into Fabric to drive the same kind of analytics, which is a big move, because traditionally SAP data has been really, really hard to get your hands on. But we also launched something called Fabric databases, where you can build SQL and NoSQL databases inside Fabric. It's really confusing in a way that you have this analytical tool that you're actually building databases into, but really what we're trying to make is really make it easier for you to build databases where you're building AI solutions and analytics solutions as well. And then finally, we also saw things like Fabric data agents and Power BI copilots, making the interaction of users with data a lot more intuitive. And so I'm very excited about all of these announcements. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Ian, just to talk through a little bit about some of the experiences we've had with customers deploying this technology.
And that's great. Thank you, Henrique. And also really interesting to see those latest changes. Actually, if you can just go to the, we'll start with the video. We'll hit a little bit more from the Met Office in this video we've recorded for them.
Met Office is the UK's national meteorological service, and we provide critical weather services and world-leading climate science to help people stay safe and thrive. We provide services that range from helping people to know when to take their umbrella out to go shopping, to allowing the military to know when it's safe to land Chinooks at RAF Odium. We produce around 400 terabytes of data daily, 40 of which is our operational weather forecasts, and this can include 20 billion observations that help track the current state of the atmosphere.
So we have lots of data, but it's all locked away in silos, and that makes it incredibly difficult for different people to access that data and make use of it to deliver our services to customers.
Microsoft are a critical technology partner for the Met Office, so choosing Microsoft's Fabric data platform was the obvious choice.
Microsoft Fabric enabled the Met Office to integrate various data sources seamlessly. This integration helped in consolidating weather data from different systems and making it easier to analyse and interpret. The platform provided the ability to process data in real time. By leveraging these capabilities, the Met Office was able to overcome their pressing challenges around disconnected data and enhance their weather observations.
Overall, the strong working relationship between Avanade and the Met Office, characterised by collaboration, expertise, tailored solution, ongoing support and shared goals, has been key to achieving a positive outcome for this project.
From the outset, Avanade demonstrated a deep technical understanding alongside a real understanding of the Met Office's mission and values. What made it true partnership was the ability of Avanade to buy into our vision, really leveraging Fabric to unlock the potential of our data and accelerate our innovation. They tailored their approach to our specific needs, and their ongoing support and responsiveness helped us to navigate challenges with confidence. Their team didn't just deliver what was asked for, they went beyond expectations.
And you'll have heard that the Met Office certainly have a large data challenge. And why we helped them was really to see that it can be much quicker to unify their different data sets, bringing them together with the right data definitions, with really clear lineage, making the data so much more accessible while keeping it secure. We also used RTI, Fabric's real-time intelligence capability, to bring weather observations data in, ingesting it and making it available to people in real time. It really accelerates the process of bringing in these data sets, and to really let people right across the Met Office get their hands on the new tools within Fabric on their own data. We ran a datathon, sort of hackathon style event to really excite people really using the data for the first time within Fabric, which was really successful, and you can see that they were very happy with the way that project worked. And Schaeffler, this is a piece of work we did with Schaeffler. They're a German multinational manufacturing technology company. They develop high precision components and systems in the automotive, industrial and aerospace areas. And they're a global company and employ about 80,000 people. They were seeking to accelerate the discovery of production insights and to maximize efficiency within their factories. They were looking at ways to modernize their data management and make information much more accessible, and really looking to AI to see that they can boost their performance. We worked with Schaeffler to pilot manufacturing data solutions within Microsoft Fabric and created a factory operations agent in order to extract and unify factory IT and OT, that's the operational technology, data within Fabric. And then we used an AI agent so that it could ask questions in natural language, receiving actionable insights in return. With Fabric and the AI agent, Schaeffler employees now can get really easy access to such metrics such as their scrap rates and yields from their factories and the energy usage. And they can also simply ask, for example, what caused the downtime on, say, line 3 yesterday, and they receive a really detailed instant response. And this is something that could have taken them hours to research and find out beforehand. So thank you.
We wanted to finish off with perhaps what we should always begin with, and that is security and governance, okay? Because as I said earlier, nobody has ever disputed the fact that this is a priority for any organization, right? And most organizations have the scars to prove it. But it has become urgent when organizations are now seeking to bring all of their data, use it at scale, and frankly, by systems that perhaps have not that much human oversight constantly, okay? So trust becomes a really, really essential part of this entire journey. And at the end of the day, remember, if people don't trust the solution or trust the data, they're simply not going to use it. If nobody uses this technology, if it doesn't get diffused, it's not going to bring the benefits that we all aspire from it. And so I just wanted to touch on how Fabric will help you ensure that every AI initiative that you drive is going to be grounded on strong governance, security that's really granular, and also truly responsible data management so that innovation can really happen with confidence. We wanted to make sure that we bring this close by highlighting the criticality of this topic. So with Fabric, you saw me talk a lot about OneLake, okay? And securing your data in OneLake is really, really essential to building trusted AI. So within OneLake, you've got role-based controls to ensure that co-pilots, agents, and even the AI models are only accessing the data that they should, so that every insight that you have remains governed and reliable. You can define your security down to the folder, down to the row, down to the column level, so that you can share data without exposing sensitive information, like the example we saw in the demo. But you can also enforce access consistently across all Fabric engines, right? And so this keeps your AI experiences grounded in the right data and aligned with your compliance requirements. We're also rolling out something new called the security tab inside the OneLake catalog. I don't know if you saw it in the demo, but it's there now. And in there, you can centrally manage all of the roles and permissions in one place so that you can scale AI securely while maintaining control. You also heard me talk a little bit about Purview, right? And on top of the built-in security in Fabric, you can leverage Microsoft Purview to protect data consistently across your entire estate. And this will really help you ensure that data is secure and governed as it's used across analytics, applications, and AI workloads. And those labels that you set in Purview will classify the Fabric data using the same labels that you already use inside Microsoft 365. And it's enforced even when you export that data, okay? And with data loss prevention policies like the one that you saw in the pop-up in the demo, you can automatically detect the upload of sensitive data and trigger protective actions before you're even building something, right? So that's really, really important. And so we're really excited to share both of these capabilities as part of Purview for the use of Fabric.
Enrique, so it's the obvious question: where can we start? And we've done this quite a number of times now, and we've mapped out what seems to work really well for our customers. So we start really to try and get things moving quickly. But also make sure that everyone understands the full capabilities here. So we think it's useful to start with a workshop where we can go through both Fabric and our approach and how we can accelerate this, really tackling some of those questions you've heard about on this call and through this conversation around data quality and governance. And then we have this thing that we call our hero offer. It's a value accelerator, and we really allows us to activate your platform before and demonstrate it working, showing some value before moving forward into what we often call an MVP or a minimal viable product. So you can start realizing that business value straight away. And we just talk a little bit more about this hero offer that we have, what we call the Fabric Value Accelerator. And this is a packaged approach, one that we've done many times, and we can do this over a 4-week period for a fixed fee. And it really enables you to really activate Fabric, but also take in your data from your choice of one of your systems. That very often would be Dynamics, but can be other systems as well. Bring that into and structure it in this well-governed way that we've heard about within a lakehouse, and create ways of accessing that data, with Power BI, for example, and really giving you something that's that you've got, that you own in your environment, ready then to scale out for all your future data and AI applications that you will have undoubtedly within your business. And it's just a fantastic way to get moving quickly and avoids the need for lengthy analysis discovery phases by really bringing things to life, working in much more iterative manner to scale it out.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to talk you through how we can get started, how you can get started on your Fabric journey. And then we've had some fantastic questions in the chat. So I'm going to pick 3 and then ask Enrique and Ian for some insights into your questions. Getting started on your Fabric journey, you can start your Fabric trial. We've included a link for you to click on to actually kick that off. Of course, there's a lot of information. Enrique also mentioned some of the game-changing announcements that came out of Ignite, so you can check out the Book of News, and you can also check out Microsoft's Fabric blog, or you can get in touch with Ian and me. So we've both included our email addresses, so we would be delighted to hear from you. And also just leverage Escher Accelerate funding. So Microsoft has some fantastic go-to-market funding that you can use to really kickstart your journey with Fabric, and also really accelerate your time to market and your go-to-market. So if you'd like to know anything more about that, please feel free to get in touch. We'd be delighted to hear from you. And without further ado, I would just jump into some of these fantastic questions that we have. So first question, obviously we had Microsoft's flagship annual conference last week, Ignite, lots of exciting updates. Enrique mentioned Fabric IQ, there's also Agent 365, for instance. Question to both of you, what was the most exciting piece of news from Ignite for you both? What was game changing? What excites you the most? We're very curious to know.
For me, it's really hard to top Fabric IQ. This is really exciting, I think, and for me, who's always worked with clients about helping making data easy to understand so we can improve decision making, driving the right actions. The challenge has always been around context for your data, making sure that you've got that clarity around the context. And I think this is really taking that to the absolute next level. And we'll see that right across data, but also it will make agents. I mean, everyone's excited about what we can do with agents, and the ones we're doing now, they will become more powerful, and this will really help adoption as we can begin to trust them more, and really to make allow them to make, really, I suppose, more autonomous decisions within business processes. So yeah, that's it for me. And sorry if I stole the most exciting thing, Enrique, but
there's lots to pick from. Yeah, there's lots to pick from, and I'm going to hone in on 3 things. The first one is the whole piece around IQ. The second is something called Horizon DB, and the third one is something called the Agent Factory program. Okay, so we talked a lot about Fabric IQ, but what we've got to understand is that this is a whole theme, okay, of a whole IQ stack that is coming together. So we announced Work IQ, which is what's making Copilot and custom agents context aware with all of the signals from emails, files, meetings, and your work patterns, right? And all of this exposable through APIs, right? The key thing here, this is governed, right? So it respects all of the data security and data protection policies that you've got in place. That's Work IQ. You've heard about Fabric IQ, right? Sharing business context over your live data so that agents and people are reasoning in business terms rather than data tables, okay? Work IQ, Fabric IQ, Foundry IQ, right? So you saw me show you Microsoft Foundry, where we're building AI apps and agents. That is Foundry IQ is the knowledge endpoint that's automating RAG, right? So retrieval, augment, generate. So that RAG is when you ground models on data to make it not hallucinate and make it more accurate, right? So we are automating RAG for you, so you don't have to sort of fine tune and refine your own models anymore, right? And that's across data from Microsoft 365, data from Fabric, and even data from the web. That's Foundry IQ, right? So we're bringing all of this IQ stack to really make it easier for us to have agents that are, really customized to our needs and businesses, but also requiring a lot less what we call like post-training, right? And then, Catherine, you mentioned Agent 365 is bringing all of this together, right? It's the control plane that gives every agent an identity. It allows you to drive observability. Like, we know humans will always be in the loop, right? And so we're giving the tools to allow us to do that at scale for hundreds, thousands of agents across your business. So this is really going to shorten the path from ideation to production, right? I'm going to mention Horizon DB really quickly. Postgres SQL is an open source database. It is the most popular database for people building AI applications where they need databases. We've now released Azure Horizon DB, which is precisely that. It's using open source, but it is a enterprise grade, high performance, AI ready service to allow you to build agents at speed. And then finally, I mentioned the Agent Factory program. This is not technical, but really important for those business people on the call. We are launching the Agent Factory program. This is a plan which is metered that you can purchase that allows you to bring together Copilot Studio, where we build agents with point and click, and Foundry, where we build agents with code. We're bringing those together, giving you hands-on support, training that helps you move pilots to scale, right? It's a great thing for anyone wondering, how do we even get started? The fact that you've now got these services that we're bringing together, bringing all of these tools in one place, and hands-on support for customers.
Super, super exciting. Thanks very much for your insights there and for also sharing the excitement. So next question, Henrique, I think I'm going to ask you this one. So how are we guiding our customers in their Fabric journey who have investments across Fabric, but also Snowflake and Databricks, for instance? And is Fabric the right cloud-based analytics platform for them? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we get this all the time. We have a very broad portfolio of partners. The great thing about Fabric is that the more you use it, you're paying for consumption, right? And so that's why we decided to build it as a platform focused on coexistence and composability rather than a replacement strategy, because we understand that customers will have made investments in some really great technology and we don't have to replace that, right? So we've we typically take a multi-step approach. First, we think about swim lanes by workload, right? So for example, Databricks, where customers have investments in Databricks, they probably are using it for deep data engineering and notebooks, and they keep using it for that. Snowflake, they might have used it to standardize data warehousing, right? But then they're bringing in Fabric, where they want that one semantic layer for business intelligence, for real-time signals through real-time intelligence, and for their AI agents. And so we connect these estates instead of duplicating them, right? OneLake, as you saw, and Power BI models and Fabric IQ become that shared business meaning, and then that acts on top of all of this data that you might have, or data that you might be processing across places like Snowflake and Databricks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks very much. And then Ian, I've got a question for you. So our listener asked, is it possible to migrate Synapse to Fabric, and how would this project be constructed? How would we roll this out?
Yeah, so, yes, of course. And I think it's probably worth building on what Henrique was just saying there. Is within the Fabric ecosystem, you can certainly still use tools such as Synapse, and it's provided a lot of value to our clients. I know it has. But also to simplify your environment and look at the new capabilities of Fabric. Many of our clients are asking this question. And if you look at it, Microsoft have a tool, the Fabric Migration Assistant, which can really help provide a lot of these migration activities. But there are some things to bear in mind. There isn't exact feature parity between the way Synapse works and into Fabric. And you also need to consider the larger environment and not just the Synapse service, which would be part of an Azure-based data platform typically. But you're perhaps not surprised to hear that we've done this before. We've got a well-defined and proven approach. Yeah, which would start with a short assessment and a pilot. And again, we like to start things moving and actually demonstrating and finding out where the challenges are within a particular customer's environment, because everyone's different, everyone's got a different setup. So then we get a clear view of the challenges before moving on through a sort of standard process, which involves some planning, really making sure we're standing up the right environment, do the migration. But then actually a lot of the thing is just checking its work properly, the validation, and then full acceptance before you go into replacing the system into your production environments. And of course, not to forget decommissioning and making sure that you properly turned off and stop using it, really to make sure that you're keeping your cost control, which is obviously top of mind for everyone. I mean, it's a big question. We can go into a lot of detail, but it's probably worthy of a call on its own to really cover the full approach if this is something that people need help with.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks to our listeners for your fantastic questions. For any questions we didn't cover, we will get back to you with follow-ups and more information. Thank you so much, Henrique and Ian, for taking the time and really showing us how Microsoft Fabric is really a key integral component in our AI transformation journeys to actually realize the ambitions that we all have as businesses. It's been fantastic. So I'm going to close us off now. I believe you've all got our emails, Ian and mine. So please get in touch should you have questions. And we look forward to speaking to you all very soon again. Thank you very, very much.